So this is a lot of just trust me, bro. But I want to tell the story anyway because I promise you this really happened. So in 2009, Kyron Horman went missing from Skyline School, the same school I used to go to. In 2010, the Zodiac Killer, who I knew just as Ron at that time, was teaching my sister how to play piano. He had a piano studio where he taught many kids how to play. Well, in 2010, he gifted our family a piano that had been in his family for generations so that we could practice, or she could practice. The piano was covered in semen, and I will include pictures because I kept pictures of the piano. He also gave us a CD from his band, or his CD of his music that also had his semen on it, which I still have, and I have reported several times, but nothing has been done about it. I talked to someone via Reddit a couple years ago after all of this had happened, who said she was a former student of his, and one time he picked her up and placed her on the piano near where the semen stains are, but didn't touch her, which I felt like, he changed his mind and she got really lucky. That's a little of a side note, but I still thought it was worth mentioning. The piano went untouched by my family for nearly 10 years because, ew, there's semen everywhere. So then finally, one day, my mother wanted to get rid of the piano. In 2019, a news article came out that said the search for Kyron Horman had been narrowed to 100-acre woods or something like that. My name is Robin. My dad's name is Christopher, and I was named that because of Christopher Robin from Winnie the Pooh. 100-acre woods spoke out to me, and I thought, they're talking to me right now. Or maybe they're not, but it felt like a targeted message to me because I have been outspoken about this case and reported this man numerous times over the years of his disappearance. I firmly believe that this man murdered Kyron Horman, and I have my own personal reasons to believe this, which are hard to prove, but I know he's threatened me as a child and tried to bait me to his truck as a child, which is largely why I believe this. 3 days after that news article was made, Ron comes to pick up the piano. I still believe he's the killer of Kyron because he threatened and baited me, so I kept a fire extinguisher in my possession at all times with self-defense, and we did not let him enter the house. Only the dismantlers of the piano and the moving company could come into the house. So a Mexican moving company filled with people who don't speak English came to dismantle the piano. I didn't let Ron in the house, and I watched them dismantle the piano with a fire extinguisher in my lap. Little did I know, in the very back of the piano, there was a big steel canister with a blue stripe. Think like a blue Rhino you find outside of all Walgreens. It was like a big gas tank inside the piano. And I remember thinking, what is that? Like, why would that be in a piano? What purpose does that serve? I knew nothing about pianos and their inner workings, so I didn't really pursue it that much, but it was a big drum-like cylinder sitting inside the piano. Fast forward about 2 months, I'm very active on Snapchat, Our Stories, and I'm just making silly jokes and posting it to my neighborhood so all the world can see in the area. Well, around that time, about 2 months after the piano was picked up, there was a memorial that was made shortly after Kyron disappeared at the gym him and his father used to exercise at. And right behind that gym, there was a storage facility, kind of like I don't know what you call it, but it was a place where people could buy a storage container and put their belongings in it. Well, someone on Snapchat Our Story, presumably Ron, posted a video of this giant, and I mean giant, flamethrower with the same blue drum that was inside the piano attached to a giant, massive nozzle labeled the Fire Giant in the storage facility behind the Kyron Horman Memorial. Now, I don't take pictures of this because Snapchat snitches on screen caps, and I don't want this man tracing me back and thinking that I'm trying to. I really wish I would have, in hindsight, taken a picture of it, but I was too afraid that if I took a picture of it, something would have happened to me. Now, I know for a fact that in the Zodiac Killer cipher, he mentions not being afraid of the gas chamber, and I believe that the gas chamber he's talking about is the massive gas chamber attached to his flamethrower. And it makes sense that he's not afraid of it, because if you're using a flamethrower, the chance of the flame coming back into the nozzle and blowing up the canister of gas is a very real possibility. Or the flame coming back and blowing him up while he's using the flamethrower if he's blowing in the wind the wrong way. Those are all real possibilities why someone would be afraid of a gas chamber in a flamethrower. So when I heard after this, years later, that the Zodiac cipher had been solved, that he was not afraid of the gas chamber, I was like, he's talking about the flamethrower he has. And that would make sense why there's so little evidence to his victims, because a flamethrower like that size could burn down a small house in 30 seconds to ash completely. So that's why I believe that this man is the Zodiac Killer partially. Now, when I told my sister about this story of the flamethrower and how he had rigged and what I believe happened, he put that gas chamber inside the piano so that when my sister played a certain note, it would strike the gas chamber and ignite the piano, essentially creating an incendiary bomb. And he was in charge of placing the piano in our house, and he placed the piano in a corner of our house facing a wall in a corner where if my sister would have struck the note to inflame the piano, she would have been trapped behind a wall of flame, unable to get out, which I thought was really interesting. Also, my dog used to smell the back of the piano all the time in the area where the gas chamber was, and I always thought it was weird that he would smell that part of the piano all the time, and I didn't realize why until after I found out that video on Snapchat. So when I told my sister that this is what happened, she said, "Oh, so that's how he knew I wasn't practicing piano." So the story made sense to her because he had made comments to her about her not practicing the piano, and she wondered how he would know that. Well, he knew that because she never played the piano, she never struck the chord that ignited the bomb, and so we survived. Because the piano was covered in cum, it was gross, and nobody wanted to touch it. So I thought that was all really interesting. Now, I've told all this to the FBI, but they don't do anything about it, and I believe that is because they already know all this information due to this man's connections with the local mayor, or the former mayor, rather. Now, this man has a thumbnail on his video, Ron. He has a thumbnail on his YouTube video of an engulfed piano, like a piano like engulfed in flames, which kind of alleges to my story a little bit more since, obviously he's posted something very similar to what I'm telling you on his YouTube page. Now, I don't want to share his YouTube channel because I don't want viewers of this video going in there and mentioning me to him. So I'd rather keep that anonymous. But he does have a YouTube channel where he talks about kidnapping and murdering children that I have reported to YouTube for violating the child safety policy, which they have not taken down. So anyway, that's about all I have to say. I'm going to include pictures of the piano in this video. Thank you for watching. God bless you and goodbye.